Hey, Warpugs. So, this was requested during the Shenanigans stream on Friday. This is the Krieger and the Flower. And while normally, I really enjoy everything from Chaotic Voices. I really, really do. And while normally he puts out funny things, every so often something gets put out by Chaotic Voices that I know is going to be on a more serious take. And I actually enjoy those probably more. I thought the Sons of the Phoenix and the one that he did for the Salamanders was so good. But this one I think is going to be on a similar vein. This is the Krieger and the Flower. Now, this shot is absolutely wonderful. This piece of art right here is absolutely wonderful. But let's just get into this. Guys, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Check out all the links for Chaotic Voices. And let's go. Krieger and the Flower. Here we go.
Police force marched through the city gates, with crowds of native inhabitants looking on. But there was little cheering or celebrating. The grim-looking army were not the angels of salvation that the people had thought they would be. Rather, they were silent, lifeless beings that spared the people not even a single glance as they marched by. The people's faces grew nearly as dreary as the soldiers' masks, as they realized that their saviors were not like angels, but more like walking corpses. But through the crowd of bleak and cheerless faces, a bright and sunny one appeared. Why is everyone so afraid of them? She thought. When they're here to save us, we should be thankful. She leaned over the side and reached out to the nearest passing soldier, holding out one of the summer flowers she had just gathered. "These are for someone else, but you can have one," she said cheerfully. The soldier hesitated for a moment, looking at the gift being presented to him. Then he moved back into formation. He did not take it, but she was sure that he wanted to. Her grandmother frantically pulled her back and began scolding her. She didn't listen. She just put the flower back with the rest and stepped back, her smile unchanged. Late that night, at the temporary camp setup, the soldier was lying on his poor, uncovered bunk, his bag as a pillow, surrounded by all his brothers in arms, taking in a few miserable hours of rest. He, however, could not sleep. For some reason even he didn't understand, the image of this young girl smiling at him while handing him a flower stayed in his mind. Normally he would have quickly forgotten this insignificant moment, but he had not, which plunged him into a deep state of confusion. His eyes behind the mask staring silently at the immensity of the night sky studded with stars. Why? That was the word that kept coming back to his mind. Why? Why was he still thinking about it? Like all his brothers, he was just a number among many, a weapon dedicated to fighting and dying for the Imperium, nothing more, dying for the cause. Tomorrow he and all his brothers would go to fight the hordes of orcs that threatened this world, and many of them would never come back. He would surely be part of that mass grave. Because fighting and dying was all he was taught in this life. But while he remained lost in this unusual thought, a light and cold wind rose, which suddenly brought something to him. Something small and delicate that settled gently on his chest. This flower that had been brought by the wind, it was exactly the same as... Looking briefly around him without noticing anything moving, he held the flower in the palm of his hand, staring at it in silence, not really knowing what to do with it. The next day, lined up in rows and marching in an irreproachable cadence like veritable automatons, the soldiers of Krieg left the town to go in the direction of the battles, located several hours' walk from here. Again, A heavy, somber silence reigned as the crowd of locals watched the Legion depart. Walking amongst his brothers, his last rifle on his shoulder, the young Kriegsman then saw among the crowd the same young girl whom he did not know, accompanied by this old woman who must have been her grandmother. Like yesterday, the young girl was the only one to show a smile in the middle of all these closed and dull faces, like a last source of light and hope. Their eyes met again, and he thought for a single second he guessed 2 words uttered by her lips, something he had never heard in his entire life. Thank you. She would never know his name, and he would never know hers. They would never see each other again, and both of them, each in their own way, knew that in advance. Without a single word, the young man resumed his firm and upright walk, heading inexorably towards his destiny as a living weapon in the service of the Imperium. But, having kept well hidden in his pocket this flower, which although seemingly banal and insignificant for everyone, but which for him, for a moment, had meant the most important thing in the world. If people like him existed in this pitiless universe, it was only to allow people like her to continue to exist.
This is awesome. This is outstanding. When this started up, I started getting like okay, so story from the old man. Like this made me think of something that happened to me personally when I was when I was in the military back in God, it was late 2000 and it was late 2003. No, it was I was actually flying from I don't remember what airport I was in. I think I was in Chicago O'Hare. And back then they wanted us to fly in uniform. So I was out in my you know in my like full dress uniform because they wanted us to fly in uniform back then. They don't want you to do it now. They did want you to do it back then. But they wanted us flying in uniform, so I was sitting there in my it was the all white uniform, and it was really late at night. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't think I was at Chicago O'Hare. I think I was sitting somewhere in a changeover. I don't remember where I was. Sorry guys, I don't remember where I was, but I do remember I was flying from I was flying to San Diego because I was going to be going into training in San Diego. Now, what wound up happening was it's like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and everybody's waiting because we're waiting to board, and I'm just sitting there, and this woman and this like 2-year-old kid sit in front of me, and we're just sitting there talking because there's nothing else to do. Like phones weren't really a big thing back then, so we just sit there and started talking about what was going to go on with me, and where she was going, where I was going. I told her that I was going to be going out to the West Coast for training out there. All this other kind of stuff, and the little boy was confused by my uniform. He hadn't seen. I don't think he'd ever seen someone in uniform before, or something like that. And this was still very mentally close to 9/11. So the woman looked down at the little boy, and she told him he's going to go fight the bad guys. He's going to go fight the bad men. And the little boy ran up to me and hugged me. Like, we were sitting like 3 feet apart from each other. And he ran up and hugged me. I've remembered that. Like, I don't remember... Like, there are years that pass by with just... There really wasn't much to stick in my memory. There really wasn't much to stick in my memory. That stuck with me. It stuck with me. Because I remember... Because, like, I didn't know what to do, so I was like, oh... I was like, oh... And she thought it was the cutest damn thing ever. And... I just sat there and I hugged the kid, and I was like that was it. We sat there and we talked for about 30 more minutes before I boarded a plane. And I'm pretty sure that's when I was that was the last flight I had before San Diego, because when they put you on a flight, sometimes when they put you on civilian flights in the military, sometimes you're doing 3 or 4 stopovers. But I think that was my last one before I fully headed to San Diego. But this reminded me of that. Like, it's something that stuck with me for a very long time. And it's one of those things that that is one thing that when I think about bright spots in my military service, that's one of them. Just like this random encounter at 2:00 in the morning at some random airport in the middle of nowhere. I can't even remember where I was. I know I wasn't in Chicago. Like, I might have been in Chicago, for the love of God. I don't know. But I had just gotten done with basic. My family had gone home. My family had gone home. I had spent like 3 more days all in Great Lakes for just waiting for, my orders packet to come in to get me out to San Diego. Then, get on the flight. They wanted you to, dress white uniform, go. Yeah, it was a thing. And this reminds me so much of that. War Pugs, you never know, you just never know what's going to stick with you. I've had things happen that haven't stuck with me, and I've had things like that happen that have stuck with me for a very long time. But, yeah. Shutting up, moving on. War Pugs, all the Chaotic Voices links are going to be in the description down below. I highly recommend you go check them out, because no matter what they put out, you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to head off from here. Please like,